Good morning. I want to give you guys today 9 traits or 9 ways to verify that you're dealing with a narcissist. This is building off of yesterday's video when I spoke about how there's different types of manipulation involved, including spiritual manipulation, and narcissism always comes with some form of verbal abuse or manipulation, and often they go together. There's always violence in its midst. It's always out to steal, kill, and destroy. And again, I like to tell people that narcissism is like the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. The fruit looks good for eating, but that's just because you haven't gone to the other side of the tree yet. And that the fruit of that tree will always lead you to the root. It'll always tell you what kind of tree that is, and it'll tell you whether or not it's good for eating. Narcissists are this way. They're a roller coaster of multifaceted personalities. One minute, they're amazing, they're the funniest, they're extremely adventurous, they're often seductive, and there's a draw to be around them. But the next minute, they are manipulative, they control, they want to control everything, even the way that you think they want to control. There's destruction and lies, deceit. All of these things are just part of who the narcissist is. The tree of the knowledge of good and evil and the tree of life were both placed in the midst of the garden, and both are necessary. Both are necessary in order to fill the hole in everybody's hearts that's shaped like Jesus. We must find him. We have to do it on our own free will, and we have to know that there is life, and we have to choose how we get there. And oftentimes we're looking at the tree, we think that this tree must be good because there's something good about it, when God intended you to go to a completely different tree in the first place. So sometimes when we think about narcissists, we think about someone who likes themselves a lot. We kind of feel like it's this cutesy term, right? Like, oh, that person's a narcissist. They just are really full of themselves. And in fact, it's almost blown off as to how dangerous this type of person is. This person is not just obsessed with themselves. In order to have their ego filled, they must tear down people. They must destroy. It's how that they get their energy. It's where they get their own self-worth. They get self-worth by eliminating the self-worth of others. And so this is not just a growing phase or somebody who's immature. This is a really dangerous state of that person's heart. There's nothing passive about it. They know what they're doing. This is a calculated choice. And all cluster B personalities are that way. Narcissism is only one of cluster B personalities. So anyway, they all need to feed their egos. They find validation in themselves by invalidating those around them. They will always rebel against your structure, boundaries, and systems. And if you don't have strong boundaries in your own life already, they will just plow right through them. And then you'll find that you attach your own identity and your own self-worth to how the narcissist is responding to you. This is why people with codependency issues often go with a narcissist. They go together because they have the same deficits and they are attracting one another. So I can't, again, stress how dangerous this is. This is a really dangerous situation for many reasons. You don't have any idea, I think. I think a lot of people just don't know how much havoc they can reap in your life. Just tearing away everything that you love. It's true. So anyway, I want to give you 9 ways to identify a narcissist and help you steer clear of these types of people. First of all, they'll lack personal responsibility. Nothing is ever going to be their fault. They are always going to see one point of view on an issue, and it's always going to be theirs. And if you disagree with that, you're always going to be wrong. They're unable, literally unable, to put themselves in another person's shoes. So they will always lack personal responsibility. And even if this means going against what is actually happening. Even if their opinion is far from reality, it doesn't matter. That's going to be their opinion and they're going to stick to it. The second trait of a narcissist is that they never understand your feelings and they will refuse to apologize. You'll usually end up arguing about why you feel like, however you're feeling, you'll end up arguing about why you feel that way, because they just want you to stop feeling that way and feel however they feel. And you'll leave the conversation feeling like whatever the argument was about, it was your fault for feeling that way. If you just hadn't felt that way, then the argument would have happened. If they do apologize, it's always to get something. Narcissists don't have an altruistic motivation. They never are just doing it because they want to help somebody else. They want to see somebody else succeed. There's always something that they can get by doing something good. So whether they donate something to a charity or they give something like an apology, it's always so that they can get something else for themselves. It's never because that's the right thing to do or that they're hoping to help somebody else. There's always something else attached to it, another motivation. Number 3, narcissists see themselves as the most important, even the only person that matters. They will manipulate you and everybody else around you to get whatever they want. They believe they are owed something for just simply existing. They want you to pay for everything. Often they'll act like you owe it to them. If they have a lot of money, then they believe that they can use money to essentially buy you. They think that because they paid for something, then you must do what they want you to do or feel how they want you to feel or say whatever they want you to say. But they want you to, ultimately, they want you to do whatever they want. They are the most important person and the only person in their life that matters. Number 4, their life is not as it appears. If you were to pay attention, you would see that they have strained relationships in their lives, even when they're trying to make it look as though everything is great, there's no issues in their lives. There's things that they never told you about in their past, and those things will come to light. And half of their accomplishments are only true, or their life is filled with half-truths. Nothing about them is ever exactly how they make it appear, and this is by design. They want to construct reality how they see it in their own minds. It doesn't have anything to do with other people or what actually is happening, actual events. They just ignore those things and construct their own reality in their mind. Number 5, they have a magnetic personality. This usually means that who they are in public is not who they are in private. Their charisma is for public appearance. This is to draw people to them because they are energy vampires. They need people around them to feed their egos. They need to have their validation coming from an outside source. And so in public, they're often extremely charismatic, very approachable. They seem kind and generous. They're very successful. People who don't know them are drawn to them. And this is, again, because their life is not how it appears. They know how to manipulate the situations. They can read people's energies very well. So they know what to say, to get them, to get another person intrigued, and they know how to approach certain people and what it would be how to engage that person. Number 6, they love to talk about themselves regardless of the situation. They steer all the conversations back to them, their accomplishments, etc. This is because they have a need to feed their ego and they seek outward flattery to do that. And oftentimes what they'll do is they'll use a compliment they'll compliment somebody, and that person is just going along with the conversation, and so they'll give back a compliment, which will open up the door for the narcissist to talk about themselves. And if you pay close enough attention, you can see this pattern happening all of the time. The problem is that we often just look at things in individual, in their own little boxes of like, oh, that was just that time, or that was just that time. But if you look at it and monitor behavior, you can see a pattern. You can see a pattern in the narcissist's life and what they talk about and how the conversations are always steered. So that's number 6. Number 7, narcissists do not care about issues that don't relate to them. If you have a need from a work or a family situation, you will never find support or comfort by going to a narcissist. And in fact, they'll use it against you. They'll think about that weakness in your life, and they'll use it against you at some point. And while you're sharing with them, you may feel like you are boring them, even that you are burdening them by just sharing an everyday event with them, or especially if there's a traumatic situation where you need support from them, you're going to feel like, again, you're in the wrong because you're bothering them with this issue. You'll never have a true connection, a true relationship with them, because the narcissist is always about himself. He's unable to really give emotionally or anything else. Again, it's always all about himself and what he can get. They lack empathy. All narcissists are uncaring, but within the cluster B personality disorders, there are people who have antisocial personality disorder and those who are psychopaths, and those people can literally not feel empathy. They cannot, the connections in their brain don't allow it. So they can, and there are, and psychopaths actually make the emotional connection to other people's pain, right? They get pleasure from seeing other people suffer. So they know the right things to say when they're in public. If somebody in public is addressing a bad situation, oh, I heard so-and-so was in a car crash, they'll know the right thing to say, like, oh, I'm sorry about that, you know, but it's never truly coming from their heart. And it's always about an opportunity to get more power by becoming closer to the person in tragedy. That's often how they do it, is look for people who are going through a certain situation that would allow them to become more emotionally vulnerable. So number 8, number 7 was that they don't care about issues that don't relate to them. Number 8, if you ever try to address issues with a narcissist, it will be immediately shut down. If you try to tell them that you don't like what they're doing, or you try to stand up to them in a certain situation, if anything that comes close to criticism will be immediately shut down, because they have very, very low self-esteem, and they cannot handle any type of criticism, anything that rebels against the world being all about them and them being amazing. So what a narcissist does when this happens, if you do try to criticize them or address a certain issue with them, even if it's not critical, it's just like, hey, you know, I don't really like when you do this, or, you know, this kind of bothers me. They'll often get so enraged that this will lead to name calling. They'll blame you for that. It's always about, or even shaming you into, you know, they can just make up the crazy stuff, but, you know, they can just shame you for even thinking that they would have a flaw. And again, this is about getting power. They need to take it from other people because they can't make it within themselves. They don't have that. They have an extremely low sense of self-esteem. Like I was saying, they don't know who they are. They don't understand their identity. And they have to, the only way that they can get it is by stealing it from other people. And number 9, your relationship is always about them. Their needs and their wants are not just always discussed all of the time, but all of the energy in the relationship goes into accomplishing their goals and getting their desires, even if this is at the expense of other family members. Even their own children and spouses will be suffering while the narcissist has everything that he could ever want. They're solely focused on themselves. So I just want to read through those really quick again. Number 1, they lack personal responsibility. Number 2, they never understand your feelings and refuse to apologize. Number 3, they see themselves as the most important and the only person that matters. Number 4, their life is not as it appears. Number 5, they have a magnetic personality. Number 6, they love to talk about themselves regardless of the situation. Number 7, they do not care about issues that don't relate to them. Number 8, you cannot address issues or criticize them. Number 9, your relationship is all about them. So this isn't a comprehensive list by any means, but these are things that you can easily take note of, and track the behavior and the conversations. Just normal everyday patterns of life. You can track them and find the common denominator, if you will. So one thing that I want to talk about really quickly before I leave is that tomorrow I'm going to talk about ways to get out of a relationship that involves a narcissist. There's always a way out. You know, it can feel very hopeless because sometimes you're so far into the relationship by the time you realize what's happening, because you weren't self-aware. You thought, you know, you kept trying to stay on the side of the tree that has the good fruit, you know, instead of going and taking a full survey of what was actually happening. But there's always a way out. You know, it says that God determined to save humanity before the foundations of the world were created, that Jesus was slain before that. So God always has a way out. There's always some redemptive, there's always a redemptive way in every situation, regardless of how it looks in the natural. And, you know, all problems that we encounter today have a solution already. So in my 12-week mentorship course that's coming up, I really focus on identity and growing deep roots in your identity so that nothing that's counter to what God has already said about you, the thing that you were created to be and the things that you were created to do, that is nurtured through a deep connection with God and with a community of people around you that can support you and you can share experiences and things like that. This is all about what Ashes to Beauty does, and in the Life After Narcissism program, it really focuses on women who have gone through this kind of a relationship and who really need to rebuild and heal in a safe and supportive environment. So that is it for today. Tomorrow, again, I'll be talking about ways to get out of a narcissistic relationship. And then I will have one other video, and then that will conclude this Facebook Live series. I live in Northeast Wisconsin, and if you are local to me, I am speaking at several events starting next week that are local to this area. Please get in contact with me if you're interested in learning more about attending one of those sessions, or visit my website, ashestobeautyministries.org, for more information about the Life After Narcissism mentorship program and to apply. Have a great day.